Hello, my name is Jeremy Scream and I'm an IronSpeed MVP. In this video we'll be discussing process workflow. In particular, we'll give a definition of what workflow is, what we can do with workflow, and then we'll go over some examples using IronSpeed Designer. Workflow is common to many computer applications, and a definition is that workflow is a term used to describe the tasks, procedural steps, organizations, or people involved, required input and output information, and tools needed for each step in a business process. Software applications are great at organizing and managing data and maintaining the state of tasks, processes, and/or pieces of information. Each project can have its own unique set of requirements, but learning a few simple strategies that can be applied within an IronSpeed application will get us far along the path so that you can build your own workflow application solutions. So there are several examples in the forums on some applications built with IronSpeed using workflow. There's a project management and tracking application that allows customers to monitor the progress and provide feedback in the form of feature requests and bug reports. There's also a WEC's Warren County Executive Administration System that automates cross-departmental communication by defining tasks, roles of who can perform certain tasks, and a simple database to keep track of it all. And lastly, there's emailable table and record pages provided as page templates from IronSpeed to assist you in sending email notifications at key points in the business process to alert users of pending tasks and important status changes. So, with that said, let's take a look at some demos. The application we'll be using for our demo was created using IronSpeed Designer version 10.0.2, and it references a SQL Server 2008 R2 database. This application was built and is in production in our company in order to assist them with tracking work orders on vehicles that they maintain for the fleet. I'll give you a quick overview of the application. The main page, I went ahead and gave them a portal page that shows the work order count by status. They can also do searches on parts or vehicles that have inspections that are overdue or coming due in any range of 30-day increments, as well as scheduled services. First thing I want to cover is some preliminary setup that you'll need to do if your workflow involves sending email. Within your IronSpeed application, if you go to the Customize menu and select Code Customization Wizard Examples, the Code Customization Wizard screen will appear, and under the section entitled Email Integration, there's an option to configure your email server authentication. What you want to do if indeed you do need to send email from within your application is follow the steps within this wizard, and it'll have you fully set up to send email from within your IronSpeed application. Now let's look at our first application workflow demo. For this demo, I've gone ahead and created a workflow screen which I will show you, and then we'll go through the code that makes it all happen. On this particular screen, we have all of our workflows for the various vehicles for our work orders, and we can filter on different statuses of work orders, and as we do, IronSpeed handles returning the appropriate records. For each record in each work order, we can see the current status and then the action buttons that are available to transition to the next status. By clicking in process, we've gone ahead and moved that to a in process state, and the application has sent us an email saying that our vehicle is now being worked on. Similarly, from in process, we go to a complete state and we'll get another email showing us that the vehicle service has been completed. So how does all this happen? Let's go ahead and look at the code behind this workflow screen to see what we're actually doing. First, we have a standard work order flow table control, which is built off a view that I created that contains the necessary fields that I wanted to display for each work order. Within there, if we look at our fields, we have the date started and various information on the work order and a panel that I added with some various status transition buttons. Each of those buttons will be displayed or hidden depending on the current status of the workflow. So in the code behind in the controls.vb file, first thing we did is a code customization for the record control pre-render. And what this is doing is setting the color of the row for voided and posted to a specific color and hiding or making certain buttons visible or invisible based on the current status of the workflow. Now the code for each of the status transition buttons is very similar. What we do is start a transaction, get the current work order record, convert it to a writable record, and then set it to the appropriate next status for whichever button we've clicked, commit the transaction, tell the screen that the data has changed, and then do the base code, which is the actual code that sends the email. And that code is completed for each button. The only difference is the status that we're setting the work order. And now let's take a look at what happens on that base callback for each button. For the button actions, we've just defined two actions. The custom code that we've added to change the status, but then we've also added a send email action, which IronSpeed has created a walkthrough wizard for us. We can actually get the to address of the email from the current record that we're on. And by doing that, we've added a second, so let's get rid of that so we're only sending one email to the person. And then the email content wizard screen, we can set a subject, we can set the text with substitution variables. So we can type some free text in here and then insert some substitution variables. And when the email is sent, IronSpeed will handle substituting the value in the record for the variable in the text that we've provided. And we can grab any of the information from that current record that we want to send in the content of the email. Our other option IronSpeed provides to us is to send a link embedded in the email with some parameters so that when the end user receives the email, they can click the link and be taken to the work order. So that's really all there is for that first demo. The second workflow demo that I want to cover is a little less staged and is the actual workflow that occurs in the production application I have running. So let's see what happens there. When the end user adds a work order, they pick the detail of the vehicle and various information relating to the vehicle and the work order details that they'd like to provide. And they also have the ability to enter a starting odometer and which type of service they're providing, any notes they'd like to tell the mechanic, and the initial status. Then down below there's 5 child tables. They can add parts, labor, services, fluids, or other charges, either at the time of intake or any time up until the workflow is posted. Or the work order is posted, sorry. So we're going to go ahead, set this work order in process add a inspection service and some labor for the certain mechanic for 2.5 hours, and then we'll save the work order. Now on the work orders portal screen, which I provided for them, I have 3 tabs: work orders that are in a preliminary, in process, or on hold status, and the appropriate buttons. And for each work order, you can expand the row and add any more detail that you need for additional service that you provided on the vehicle. I also have provided a special mechanics home page, which anyone who signs in as a mechanic's role is automatically redirected to this page and doesn't see anything else within the application. Here the mechanics can go ahead and add details to various work orders as they provide the different services on the vehicles. So if, for instance, they wanted to add a part to this vehicle, they provide the part number, hit save, and now that part has been added to that work order. And that's pretty much all the mechanics can do. So let's go back to the work order portal page. For this work order that we've just entered, if we go ahead and click flag as complete, it'll take us to a screen where we can enter some final information as far as any additional notes, and down below we can set information on the vehicle as far as the next inspection due, next service due, next service mile or hours, and the current inspection date. And then when they hit save, the work order is then moved from an in process to complete state, and it shows up on this second tab where your options are to post the work orders. Here you can post them individually, or they've requested that they be able to post in batch. So if we collect all 3 and choose this post selected work orders, we'll be redirected to a report, and each work order will be printed on its own invoice for each page for each work order that you've posted. Now there are no more complete work orders, and everything that we've moved from complete can be found over here on the search all work order under the posted section. And there's the one we just posted. We can go in and look at that. We can see the work order total divided out by the various labor, parts, service, fluid, and other charges. So let's look at the code to see how all this is happening. You'd be surprised at how simple it actually is. For the work order portal screen, the quick button panel is just the one to add a new work order. And then under the work orders panel, I have 3 sets of work order table controls with different filters, and put those on tab panels. The first tab panel shows me, well, this is actually the middle tab panel that shows me all complete work orders. If we go to the in process and preliminary tab and look at the filter for that, we're returning all work orders who are not voided, and they're not restricted edit, and are not complete. So it's real simple how we're bringing back the records for each appropriate panel. And then from within the panels, we add buttons for the status transition for the workflow. Depending on the in process, we can flag them as complete. And to do that, the code here, what we do is we have a redirect URL, and that's the redirect screen that showed us where we can enter the additional information. When that screen to enter additional information comes up, the little secret that we did in order to move it from one status to the next is we have a work order status drop down, and in the formula section we've preset it when editing record to move it to a complete status. So anytime we move to this in process to complete screen, we want to go ahead and move the work order to a complete status so that when we save. Lastly, I want to show you the code that allowed us to mass update multiple work orders to a posted status and then show the corresponding invoices for each work order. So on that work order portal page, the complete need to post work orders, if we drill down to the section work order fields, we can see the standard button edits and views that IronSpeed provides for us. We also have a row selection checkbox, and not here, but within the filter section, there's our button post multiple, which grabs each selected record and updates it to a posted status. So the code here starts a transaction, and then it finds the work order status record that has the posted status, so we know the primary key for that record. Then it gets the selected record controls and loops through those, and for each selected record changes the status to posted, saves the record, and then it maintains the string of IDs of work orders that have been posted. And then we'll later use that string to pass to the report page, which is a reporting services page that takes the string of posted work orders and does a report where it returns work orders in those string IDs and does a page break on primary key of work order to give us the one record for each invoice, one page per invoice, sorry. And here within our WC reports is our invoice page. If we look at the code for that page, it basically receives that parameter of work orders that we just posted, and then it sends that, passes that on through to the reporting services report, which then uses that in a query to return just those records. So those are some various tips and techniques that I use in workflow applications to allow me to transition records from one state to the next, and then define the appropriate actions that you can perform on the record in any individual state. Hope you've enjoyed this video on workflow processing. As always, there's tons of information at ironspeed.com within the help file and user forums. Thanks for watching this video, and happy coding.